have breaking news this hour. Hey there, I'm Ken Buffa. Long Island Congressman George Santos had just been arraigned, and he's speaking now outside of federal court. We're going to go to him
I know
so we
that
can take a
everybody's
listen.
been waiting for the moment for me to come out and talk to you guys. Look, this is the beginning of the ability for me to address and defend myself. We have an indictment. We have the information that the government wants to come after me on, and I'm going to comply. I've been complying throughout this entire process. I have no desire not to comply at this point. They've been gracious in there. Now I'm going to have to go and fight to defend myself. The reality is it's a witch hunt, because it makes no sense that in 4 months, 5 months, I'm indicted. You have Joe Biden's entire family receiving deposits from nine family members receiving money from foreign destinations into their bank accounts. It's been years of exposing. A lot of you here have reported on them, and yet no investigation is launched into them. I'm gonna fight. I'm getting back to that. I'm gonna fight my battle. I'm gonna deliver. I'm going to fight the witch hunt. I'm going to take care of clearing my name, and I look forward to doing that. Now, hold on.
What do you say to that?
I would like the opportunity for some of you guys to ask some questions in an orderly fashion, and we'll start right here. Go ahead, Rachel.
Why would you apply for unemployment benefits when you had a job making $120,000 a year?
Rachel, this is part of my defense. This is inaccurate information, and I will get to clear my name on this. During the pandemic, it wasn't very clear. I don't understand where the government's getting their information, but I will present my facts.
Prosecutors say that you got over $20,000 in unemployment benefits, sir. How is that acceptable?
Ma'am, like I said, my employment was changed during the time. I don't understand where the government's coming from. I'll present my defense
And
to
one
that.
last follow-up.
I gave you two. Go ahead.
What evidence do you have that they don't have? Because it's extensive.
I have plenty of evidence that we will now be sharing with the government in this case to make sure that I can defend my innocence.
Congressman, you continue running for re-election.
Are you planning on running for re-election?
Yes, I am.
And why should anybody believe you now?
Well, like I said, I will prove myself innocent, and then we'll move from there. And re-election is a very far time away from now.
The $750,000.
Go ahead, Shante. Go ahead.
I'm sorry for blocking. The $750,000, they said that you reported that wrongly. Do you have any comment to that?
Well, like I said, I will be giving them all, we'll be delivering all the finances of my company. I'm delivering all my finances to them to dispel their accusation against me.
And again, you will not resign.
I will not resign.
Congressman, did you take campaign donations and use that money to buy expensive suits?
No, I did not.
Do you think you'll win re-election?
That's not up for me to know. Elections are very tricky, and it's up to the people. I trust them to decide what's best for them.
Congressman, you've admitted to lying in the past. What do you think will make people believe you this time around?
Well, look, like I said, I've asked many times, I want to be judged by the work I do in the body, and I stay committed to that. Any more questions?
Washington now.
Yes, I am. I have to go back and vote. Tomorrow we have one of the most consequential votes in this Congress, which is a border bill, and I'm very looking forward to being there to vote on
You heard
it.
from the speaker
right now.
Well, I'm not going to address just the speaker. I'll address leadership. I appreciate everybody's patience with my presence in Congress. As you know, the media has its ways of doing things, and I respect you guys. I've maintained good rapport with a lot of you guys. I've spoken with a lot of you guys, and I have the intention to continuing that open door. Some of you who are from the Hill know how to find me. Some of you here from the district don't have a hard time finding me. It's about keeping in line of communication. So I appreciate leadership for being patient at this time and for allowing the process to play out. I think this is about innocent until proven guilty. This starts. I have my right to fight to prove my innocence, as the government has the right to fight to try to find me guilty in whatever charges.
Why haven't you showed any documents to prove your innocence until now? Because you're being accused for a long time.
Well, because the media is not jury or the judge, so I will present that to the jurist and to the judge in this courthouse.
And to the Congress.
Well, if Congress requests it, I will present it to them as well.
So are you volunteering for trial? You won't negotiate a plea?
I'm feeling, look, it's hard.
Yes, thank you.
I'm addressing one of your colleagues here. I don't want to give the back of. So, as usual, Jody, I do my best to be a positive person. Life is already as bad as it gets out there. So I'm fine. I'm good.
You're innocent.
I believe I'm innocent. Yes, I do.
What was your reaction?
Yourself with so many investigations and accusations.
Well, look, the way I look at it, I'll be a chairman of a committee in a couple of years if you just look at the standards of Congress. Look at the Senate.
What standards?
Is there a bill that helps states recoup COVID money, yet you're being alleged that...
Well, it's alleged, right? So so are you accusing me, or are you going to allow the process to play itself and allow me to clear my name? That's my question to you.
George,
Congressman, when did you first learn about the charges against you, and also can you talk about the process of surrendering? Did they arrest you?
It was no. It was very amicable, very peaceful. These guys did a phenomenal job. We clearly came right under your noses, and you didn't see us come in today. And now we're leaving. Obviously, we're addressing you guys. Had all the intention of the world to be out here with you guys. I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep fighting for what I believe in. I'm going to keep fighting to represent my district. I'm going to keep fighting to deliver results. And now I have to keep fighting to deliver, to defend my innocence. And I'm going to do that. And
Governor Hochul today said you should resign and put your district out of its misery. Will you do that?
Governor Hochul is entitled to her opinion. I don't represent her. She is not my constituent. So.
I saw your face in court today.
Other Republicans,
I saw your face in court today.
Republicans in Congress.
I saw your face. You looked.
Go ahead.
You looked pretty stressed. When I saw you sit down and the judge first started speaking, what was going through your mind? What are you feeling after being in court today?
Well, when it's your first time in experiencing something of this nature, I think everybody would show some kind of stress, right? I quite frankly don't believe I was stressed. I did the best I could to just keep my composure. I was fine. But again, this has been an experience, for a book or something like that. But anyway,
have your fingerprinted and
I appreciate you guys.
How did you feel?
I appreciate you guys. Here's what we'll do. I will, guys. I will. You see, that is information you'll never get, because that is the media's. Your intention is to go harass them and make their life miserable. You're not getting that. All right, have a good one.
George, where's your husband?
That was Long Island Congressman George Santos addressing press after being arraigned today. He is facing a 13-count indictment, which includes fraud, money laundering, and other federal charges. Now, as he spoke to the press here, I took a couple notes on what he said. He called this a witch hunt. He's also mentioned that in the 4 months he's been in the body, that it doesn't make sense to him that he's facing this indictment, because he says that President Biden and his son should be facing charges, which got audible boos after he had said that. He also kept saying, I'm going to fight my battle. I'm going to fight for my constituents. He also mentioned that there was inaccurate information about whether or not he collected unemployment while he was employed during the pandemic. He also mentioned, while answering that question about that employment issue, he said, my employment was changed during the time. He's not sure how the government got that information. He also says several times that he's planning to run for re-election. Someone asked, do you think you can win? In which he answered, well, elections are tricky, but that's far enough away. He also mentioned again that he will not resign. That's something he's been saying since he's been investigated by several of these prosecutors before, or there were rumors about him being investigated for certain actions that he might have taken in the past. He wants to say that he went on to say, rather, that he wants to be judged by the work he does in the body and not by this indictment or allegations or the rumors that surround him as well. He also says that he wants to think about his innocence. He wants to remind those who are watching this now or might have read about this indictment that he is innocent until proven guilty. And he's going to keep fighting in the body. He's going to be fighting for what he says is his constituents' interest, and he's also going to now be fighting for his innocence as he does face this 13-count indictment. He kept saying, I do believe I am innocent. I am going to keep fighting. But again, he is trying to frame this mostly as it being a witch hunt. He believes that he is innocent. Obviously, he has pled not guilty to some of these charges, which again include fraud, money laundering, and other federal charges, including taking campaign finances and spending them inappropriately and not in the right way with some lavish clothing and other designer accessories. But that was George Santos outside of federal court. We've been there all day. We have a reporter standing by, which we'll get to in a moment. But I'm just going to go over those comments that he made to the press. He said that when he got to federal court today, he's able to slip by the press because of the help of those court officers to get him into the federal court. One of the reporters there mentioned that while he was in court, he seemed stressed, that he seemed very quiet, and George Santos quickly said that he thought he handled it pretty well. He thought that he kept his composure, and he felt like he wasn't very stressed, that he tried the best to do that he can while facing a federal judge. Now, keep in mind that he has called this a witch hunt. It was one of the first things that came out of his mouth when he got to the podium, that he feels this is a witch hunt, that he's being targeted in some case, but he kept on pushing on the point that he is not resigning, that he believes that he is innocent and so proven guilty, which in a court of law you are. But right now he says he believes he's innocent. He believes that the government also might have got their information mixed up, especially when he made comments about the inaccurate information during his employment during the pandemic, in which, according to prosecutors, he may have taken money for unemployment. I believe the number is in the tens of thousands. Now, he did answer a reporter again, saying that he is running for re-election. He said it's a long time away, but he does plan to run, and he wants to now be judged by the body of work he does, what he does in the body as representative in the 3rd District. So we're waiting still to hear from our reporter who was in that courtroom, who watched George Santos face that federal judge. But as he left today, it's the same Santos we've seen over and over again, him saying that he is innocent. He will not resign, despite one of the reporters mentioning that Governor Hochul mentioning that he should go, and he says that Hochul is entitled to her opinion, but he does not represent her. And the fact that he feels that this is, in his words, a witch hunt. So again, he has pled not guilty to all 13 counts in that indictment, which again include fraud, money laundering, and other federal charges. Now, like I said before, we do have a reporter that was inside the courtroom, Cecilia Dow. We're waiting for her to stand by. She was there as he faced his federal judge for his 13-count indictment. One of the things he kept echoing there again is that he's going to fight this battle. He's going to continue to fight this battle. He is not resigning. He will run for re-election, and he feels that some of the information prosecutors have may be inaccurate. He said he's going to comply as much as he can. He said that it was peaceful when he surrendered this morning to face a federal judge, that there was no issue. He went there ready to hear what the judge had to say as they unseal that 13-count indictment. Now, he also mentioned that he believes he is innocent, that he is fighting for his innocence. He feels like it's one more thing on his plate. He's fighting for his constituents that he represents, and of course, fighting for his innocence as he faces 13-count indictment. I understand that we have Cecilia to her live now to tell us what happened. Hey there, Cecilia.
Hey there, Ken. Well, I can tell you in all my years covering federal court here in Central Islip, I have never seen so many reporters and videographers and photojournalists. It was really quite the crowd. And as you were just mentioning, Congressman George Santos just addressed reporters. Now, here with me is Newsday columnist Joy Brown. We want to kind of give you a look inside the courtroom because obviously cameras aren't allowed here in federal court. Joy, I think the congressman looked very serious. I think he looked a little bit nervous. I'm not sure if you agree.
Well, he walked in, he sat down. There was a kind of a little small smile, but that seemed to me to be nervousness. Spent an awful lot of time at the table going through paperwork with his attorney, talking to his attorney, gesticulating with his hands. It's interesting, he never looked back toward the galley, never looked back once. And most people, when they come in, they do that. And again, you got to remember, he's walking into a federal courtroom. He's got 3 U.S. Marshals in jackets accompanying him. And in addition to that, there are more U.S. Marshals, and he's got a crowd, including in the jury box, and there were judges who came down to see him, court personnel who came down to see him.
Now, he only spoke really a few times in court. We heard him say the words "not guilty." He said he was not guilty to that 13-count indictment. When he said that, he sort of, I don't know if you noticed, he got very close to the microphone and he said "not guilty." The only other words we really heard from the congressman were "yes, ma'am," responding to the judge when she was asking him certain legal questions, if he understood the legal process. I've talked to his lawyer. "Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am." And that was basically it until the congressman just came out of the courthouse, and I've never seen anything like that.
That was dangerous. That was dangerous. I appreciate the shout out he gave me, but he came down, he defended himself. He says, look, he says it is a witch hunt. He says, I'm going to defend myself in answer to very specific questions. He's talking about there's issues with the evidence. He talked a bit about, someone asked him about Governor Hochul, who said he should step down. He says, Governor Hochul is not my constituent. He reiterated I am going to seek re-election. And the other thing that was interesting during the court proceeding is when they were talking about the conditions of his release, there was some discussion about where he could go and how he could get there while he's on the campaign trail. His lawyer said more than once, look, he's campaigning, he's got to go places, he's got to do things. How are we going to handle that? And the judge, again, was very clear. Look, if you want to go someplace outside of New York and D.C., and if you're driving the places between New York, D.C., and it was the third place, I don't remember off the top of my head, you better check with you call pre-trial services. They're going to check with the prosecutors, and if need be, they're going to come back and check with me. So she was very adamant about that.
Yeah, basically he has to get, permission ahead of time. So that seems to have been worked out. And it seems, and anywhere else in the U.S. just has to get that prior permission. And they did say that he had surrendered his passport.
They say he had surrendered. They made him promise he's not going to get
a new one?
New passports.
It was New York City, Long Island District of
That's
Columbia, just to look that up in my notes. But so he had surrendered a passport, can't apply for a new one or any sort of travel document to leave the United States. I mean, this is a sitting congressman, so.
It's a sitting congressman. That's kind of interesting. We did not see him go in.
Nope.
And for the first time ever in this courthouse, we were actually wanded before we could go into the courtroom. Now, we went through security to get in the courthouse. They wanded us before we went into the courtroom. And the other thing I thought was kind of interesting is there were a few familiar faces in that courtroom. The former Suffolk County Sheriff, who's now Marshal, he was there. A couple of the prosecutors that we've seen before. And the other thing that's interesting here is when you take a look at where these charges came from in the indictment, this was a joint operation. And part of that joint operation was the Nassau County District Attorney's Office, but part of that joint operation was also the Long Island Criminal Division of the Eastern District of New York. And these were the people who handled the prosecutions of Tom Spota and Linda and Ed Mangano.
Okay, well, again, Congressman George Santos pleaded not guilty to a 13-count indictment here at federal court in Central Islip. I'm Cecilia Dowd reporting for Newsday TV. Thank you to Joy Brown for being with us, and I'll throw it back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much, Cecilia and Joey. Appreciate it. And thank you for watching our special live coverage on the indictment and arraignment of Congressman George Santos. Now, Newsdays has a team of reporters working every angle of this story for the latest updates and the local analysis that matter to you. You know what to do. Go to newsday.com and click Get More below the Newsday TV video box.